Hi everybody, I hope that you are having an incredible Sunday. We've changed the podcast to being released on a Sunday so that you can listen to it on your Sunday morning walk or later on in the week. Today I've got so this week I was asked about self-love and if there was a book I could recommend on self-love. So that is what has inspired this week's podcast, because I also this week have been through a self-love journey of my own that was really trying at points, but ultimately it was exactly what I needed. So self-love has got itself a reputation where it can be, it's a bit of a buzzword, isn't it? I know it's two words, but it's a phrase that has a bit of a fluffy reputation, like, oh, self-love, I'm doing this, it's an act of self-love, and sometimes we can disguise things that aren't really an act of self-love as self-love and use it as an excuse. Self-love to me, as I have learned over the last year, is so much deeper than the champagne in the bubble bath, which is what I used to class as self-love. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes that is exactly what we need, but most of the time it runs so much deeper than that. So I'm going to run through what is self-love, what self-love isn't, and how to practice self-love. And this is all my opinion. This is kind of my wisdom, what I've learned, and hopefully some of this will resonate with you. Take or leave what doesn't. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Roseanna. I'm the host of the Design Your Legacy podcast. I believe that we all leave a legacy, whether we realize it or not, and we're in charge of that legacy. We are absolutely have full control over what we want that legacy to be. It's up to us to kind of take charge of our lives and take responsibility, and we can create the most wonderful, beautiful, magical life if we desire to. So, and I imagine if you're listening to this, you probably do desire to. So without further ado, what is self-love? So self-love is knowing that you are powerful beyond measure. Self-love is understanding that you are a being of light and energy, and that in order to thrive and for your mind, body, spirit to work in the best possible way, you need love. The best person to give yourself love is yourself. The reason self-love is so important, and it's becoming really spoken about at the moment, is because we've realized that we have to give ourselves love before we can really truly accept it from others. And that is a deep, unconditional love. No, it's a love that no matter what you look like, no matter what you are doing in your day-to-day, no matter what's going off in your life, you love yourself unconditionally, which is much easier said than done. Self-love is having compassion for yourself. It's being kind to yourself. It's having it's accepting who you are, knowing also that who you are is entirely within your power, and it's knowing when to forgive yourself. Self-love runs deep. Without self-love, we run into negativity, we run into patterns of anxiety or depression. We don't live our lives to the fullest. We hold ourselves back, and we don't look after ourselves in the way that we would. We really need self-love in order to make the most out of our human life that we are living. And I'm really pleased that this question, it was just a friend messaged me, asked me for book recommendations. It was like such a simple question, and I really struggled to answer it. It took me some time to think about, because I was like, well, so there are lots and lots of books on self-love. I can give really, really spiritual ideas on books, or I can give some kind of more surface level. Depends how deep you want to go. Are we going Eckhart Tolle, or are we going something like top 10 tips on self-love? So I found it really difficult to answer, but I'm pleased it was asked of me, because it really helped me reflect on what I thought self-love was. What self-love isn't is, it's not giving in to our egoic patterns and needs, what our ego tells us that we need in order to feel loved. So the things that we use for comfort, like I used the example of of champagne in the bath. So what I used to do was work myself into the ground, be completely stressed about money, work, clients, designs, kind of how I was going to get everything done. I didn't feel like it was all possible. I felt like I couldn't do it. So I would work myself into the ground in so many different ways. And then I would have a night of self-love where I'd get in the bath, I'd drink a bottle of wine, and I'd eat a block of chocolate. And I could, if I was having a really, really bad day and needed some self-love, I could do that in the space of half an hour. And then I would feel absolutely horrendous. But because I'd mastered self-love, it's a care thing, and it's not. What that was my ego, my patterns, my body's need for comfort, and that's where I've got comfort from before. So that's where my body needs to go to get comfort. That was where I was going with that, and that is just not the way to give yourself self-love, because I would wake up in the morning with a hangover, a sugar crash, and I would feel absolutely terrible about myself. There was no forgiveness, there was no acceptance, there was no compassion, there was no kindness towards myself whatsoever. That is not what self-love is. Self-love is not giving into what your body is craving, i.e. the stuff that you know is bad for you, and disguising it as self-love. Like, it's really easy to do that, and as I say, that's a trap that I fell into, and still do. Like, I still have days where my body craves the comfort food that I was brought up on, even though I know that's not necessarily what my body needs. If on a Friday night, I love nothing more than a glass of wine, even though I know that's not what my body needs. But self-love is also balance. So it's knowing It's knowing when, like in moderation, it's knowing when, when to put the work in and when to take the time off, not completely working yourself into the ground and then crashing. That's not balance. That's not self-love. Balance is knowing beforehand. Now, how do you know? So this then comes to how you practice self-love. And again, it is not sitting in the bath and telling yourself you need self-love. Self-love practice, I mean, it's in your everyday routines. It's in everything you do. Everything you do should be an act of self-love. You're here to live this life for you, not for anybody else. So I would say every single day you need to sit with yourself and really ask the questions. And this is, again, why I struggle to answer the question about the book, was because, well, actually, the best way to find out what type of self-love you need is to sit with yourself. You're not going to get that from a book. My friend messaged me after reading the post and said, you get good inspiration from books, and I completely agree. I mean, you see all these books behind me. I actually had a clear out recently. There are so many books in here on personal development and self-love and spirituality, and I read those to learn more, and the more we learn, the more we know what resonates with us and what doesn't. So with self-love, yes, read it in a book, read the books. I actually would suggest going into a bookshop and seeing which resonates with you in there, because you really get a feel, more than Amazon, because, affiliates and all of that and how they kind of rank it isn't necessarily true. I would go into a bookshop and choose a book from there, or just wait a couple of months and my book will be out, and then you can read my book, and hopefully that will be helpful. But I really think the best way to find out what kind of self-love you need and you can give yourself is by sitting with yourself. Get quiet, get still. I would say at least 10 minutes, of breathing. And then ask yourself, how can I give myself love today? How can I lead from a place of love for myself today? Ask your heart, what do I need? And while we're speaking of your heart, you can also, and I would highly recommend this, is something I do multiple times a day, is I breathe into my heart. I breathe into my heart and I literally send it love. I send it just feelings of love. I say, I love you. I walk past the mirror, I tell myself I love myself. That has been really, really big for me. In the last 6 months, because I lost my hair, I've had surgery. I don't look like what I did a year ago. And, I'm kind of doing my best to style it out. And there are still days when I look in the mirror and I go, oh, who's that? And I just send myself love and I send myself compassion. And, I know so many women struggle with how they look and how much they weigh and what they wear, and I don't look like the other women out there, and it's all a subconscious thing. You need to practice to be able to stop those thoughts, but practice by telling yourself you love yourself in the mirror. It's so simple and it will feel so cheesy at first, but I tell you, it's now just second nature to me. I kind of I brush my teeth in the morning and I just send myself love. And it's a really nice way to start my day, and I come back to it throughout the day as well. I watched a nice thing on Gaia yesterday, actually, about the power of the heart. And somebody from the Heart Math Institute was saying that he does this as well, with the sends himself feelings of love to his heart in his in-between moments. So walking to the fridge, making a cup of tea, walking to the shop, all these in-between moments we have in life, sending yourself love while you're doing those things. And soon it just becomes a practice, and soon like that really raises your energy, and raising your energy is giving yourself love. So on raising energy, this is another self-love practice. Do things that lift you up, do things that raise your vibration, do things that help you live in a higher frequency, because the higher the frequency you live in, so as we know, we're all energetic beings, we're all vibrating at a frequency, and if we can vibrate at the frequency of love, then we A, live a happier, healthier life, B, we attract more love into our lives, and I say we have to give ourselves love before we can actually truly accept true love from the outside world. When we're vibrating at this frequency, that is when we get that is when we attract love back to us. So what we give out, we get back. And the things that lower your energy, this is a massive act of self-love, is fucking drop them. The things that you do not enjoy doing, why are you doing them? You don't have to do them. You are here to live this life for you, nobody else. The things that you don't enjoy, maybe you don't like your job, find a new one. The second you start giving yourself more love, opportunities like new jobs are going to come to you like you would not believe. So drop what doesn't feel right. Maybe you're in a relationship that doesn't feel right. Drop it. I know that's a hard one. This is why you need to sit with yourself, do the self-inquiry, and asking yourself the questions that you're scared to get an answer to. The ones that you know you need to ask and you already know the answer to, but you're scared to hear it because it means you're going to have to take action, and it means that you're going to have to change your life. Now, that's not the easiest thing to do, because your mind can only measure what you have lost. It can only measure what you're going to lose, not what you're going to gain, because it's based on past experiences. The second we stop living in the past and we live in the unknown, that is when our lives truly change. Because if we're living in the past, we're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. The second we live in the unknown and in the future and in the present moment, we are opening ourselves up to opportunities that we couldn't possibly, we don't know they're out there, we don't know they exist. But then living in this place of the unknown means that it just puts your whole mind, body, out of its comfort zone, so it won't want to do it. Even if that is for your absolute highest, my suggestion is just do it anyway. Life will get magic for you. It will, there's magic in the unknown. I've said it before, love is the unknown. It is it's powerful. It's really powerful, this space of the unknown. You just never know what's going to happen, and isn't that exciting? Can we get excited for that? It's not easy and it takes practice, but every single day practice it and just see what happens. So drop the things that are not resonating with you. It could be like a form of exercise that you do and you actually don't like. So for me, I used to run a lot. I used to compete. I used to run marathons, ultra marathons, half marathons. At one point, I had a half marathon nearly every other week, and that was too much for me. When COVID hit, it was a bit of a blessing, really, because I was about to train for another marathon, and I didn't want to do it. So I stopped training, I stopped training altogether. So I kind of went the other way. But that again that's not balance. I did too much. I knew I had to stop, but I didn't know how. I didn't do it. I was scared of what would happen if I did stop. And then I stopped, and I put on weight, and I got unhealthy, and my body started. My whole life fell apart. So eventually. That was over a 2-year period, being very dramatic there. But running, I didn't love it. It didn't serve me anymore. I was using it as competition with myself. I was being hard on myself rather than giving myself love, going and enjoying it. There was one summer that I just split up with a very abusive boyfriend, and I felt so free, and I spent like every weekend running in the Peak District, in the hills, getting lost with my friends, and we would go for gin and tonic after, and it was just like one of the most fun summers I've ever had, because I was running to enjoy it rather than running to compete. And also had this sense of freedom because I dropped something else that wasn't serving me, which was an ex-boyfriend. And when you make an act of self-love like that, the universe will recognize it and say, okay, I'm going to give you more good stuff, because you clearly know what you want. You want the good stuff. So you're putting out good stuff. You're looking after yourself. I'm going to give you more good stuff. And that is the beauty of how this world actually works. Yes, so it really all starts with asking yourself the questions that you don't want the answer to, or you already know the answers. You just have to, and then you have to take action on them. Do the things that raise your energy, drop the things that don't. Give yourself compassion. So this week then, that brings me into my journey of self-love from this week. Last week I had an absolutely crazy busy week. I were going through some stuff with new designs and new collections, so that's really taken my full focus. And what I'd done, I went home to Derbyshire to see family, tied in a couple of meetings, and then we had basically 5 days of travel and celebrations. So we kind of did a 5-hour drive. Well, I'd already travelled from London to Derby. We then did a 5-hour drive to Edinburgh, celebrated with my sister in Edinburgh, picked her up on the way, sort of, and then carried on up to Aberdeen to celebrate my brother and his now wife, my sister-in-law's wedding. And that was a few days of celebrations and madness, and just being around so many people all the time. That is, you know, I love my family to absolute pieces, but it was full on for 5 days. I didn't get much time by myself. I fell out of my routines. You know, I have a routine in the morning that I would say is a self-love routine. I sit and meditate for an hour, hour and a half. I generally do a yoga class and come back, set myself up for the day, and I wasn't getting any of that. I wasn't eating the foods that I'm used to because it was all celebration foods, and I just fell out of my routine. So on my way home, and then I had a 7-hour train journey back from Aberdeen to London, a day earlier than I was supposed to, and because there were strikes and stuff. So it was, again, even that is quite a stressful experience. So I decided that I wanted to give another juice cleanse a go. So I did a juice cleanse in Bali. It was absolutely incredible. I let so much go emotionally, physically, and I really found a deeper part of myself. So I knew that I was just called to do that. I was like, okay, so I'm going to do this. Now, what I had to make sure, I had to really sit with myself and say, am I doing this because I'm making myself feel guilty for letting my hair down this week, or am I doing this because I want to, because I'm curious, because I want to find out something deeper about myself again, because I want to see, why am I doing this? So after much thought and deliberation, I realized I wanted to do a 3-day juice cleanse as an act of self-love. I wanted to give my health a bit of a reset, detox to a certain extent, but it's a juice cleanse. It's not like the detox I did in Bali was really full on. This was just juice and soup, ready made for me. And so it was, for me, it was an act of self-love. It was for the health benefits, but also I saw it as part of my spiritual practice as well. And I'm about to go really deep inwards and design a new, well, the collection's designed, but I'm putting the final touches to it, and it is the most magical thing. I cannot wait to share it with you all. But I knew that if I could do this, have a spiritual and like reset and go really connect with myself, get back into meditation. I basically took 3 days off work. I also actually came back with a cold, which you might still be able to hear in my nasally voice, but I came back with a bit of a cold. 1 day into the juice cleanse, the cold had completely gone. But this was my act of self-love, so it was hard, it wasn't easy, and I've had wild dreams. My subconscious has been telling me all sorts. There's been so much coming to the surface. I'm also coming up to my 1-year anniversary of my cancer diagnosis, and there's a lot coming up around that, and I've had 3 days giving myself love, compassion, completely resetting. It's been hard because it's much more difficult to be disciplined when you are not in a, like with a juice cleanse, when I have Waitrose down the road from me, and you know, delicious protein bars in the cupboard. But I did manage to stick to it. But you really have to like sit with them. I had to sit with my emotions. I had to understand what was an emotional need for comfort, and what was a like, and what I actually needed. And you know, so for me, this was an act of self-love, and I finished this morning. I feel absolutely incredible. I am so pleased I did it. I am really excited about what I uncovered, and I'm really excited about where I'm going, and like, it's just been, I feel like really elevated, and that's incredible. And to me, that's what self-love is: doing the things that make you feel elevated. And how you do that is by getting honest and deep with yourself and sitting still and listening. And your heart will talk to you. Your heart will tell you what it needs. You know what you already know. It might be that you need to try something new with your health. You need to take a break from work. You need to make some new friends. Let go of toxic things in your life. Let go of the things that don't serve you. And realize again, you are powerful beyond measure. That is actually probably that's huge. The second we realize that, we're pretty unstoppable. So I hope if you've taken anything from this, I really hope that you take that you are powerful beyond measure, and you can do absolutely anything. Self-love is following you, is following your heart. It is listening to what your heart needs and giving it that love, compassion. We all have an inner child in us. That little 5-year-old will need love and compassion on a daily basis. Eventually your inner child might let go and might leave you alone. But up until then, up until your inner child can kind of grow up, you've got to give your 5-year-old self love and compassion every single day. It is so important, you know, especially in the lives. We're so conditioned and we're so encouraged to live on the go, 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 go. And that is not always the most helpful thing to do. There is a balance of yin and yang, and you know, yin is the soft energy, yang is the let's go. And especially now we're in summer. Summer is an energetic season. So maybe where can you slow down? Where can you give yourself some more time? Take some pressure off yourself. And when you walk past the mirror, tell yourself that you love yourself. Honestly, it works wonders. It works wonders, especially if you're really not feeling great. And it's hard to do, but just try it and see, and let me know what happens. I just go through my notes, see if I missed anything. Yeah, and don't fall prey to the things that you tell yourself are self-love and they're not, and you know they're actually not helpful for you. Shopping is another one of those for me. If I have a bad experience or a bad day, I'm like, oh, I generally sit on ASOS, or I'll hit the high street and go shopping, and it's because my body needs comfort, it's because my body needs love. Those egoic those patterns, those addictions that we have are because your body is telling you that it needs love. It doesn't need a new dress, and my wardrobe certainly doesn't need any more new dresses, but it needs love, like proper love, like sit down, hands on heart, I love you, love. So don't be afraid of your power. You're powerful beyond measure. Believe in yourself enough to follow your dreams and take action. Do the deep inner work. That's where the magic happens. Send yourself actual feelings of love every single day. Recognize when something isn't serving you, and what could you replace it with? Or maybe you don't need to replace it. Maybe you're doing too much. Maybe you need to let some stuff go. Keep your energy high and let go of what makes you low. And if you feel low, send yourself love. And when you feel high, send yourself even more love. I love you. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to learn any more about myself, what I do, I'm a spiritual life coach. My book will be released in the coming months. I am a speaker, and I also have a fine jewellery company which is about to release an incredible new collection. We also have a collection on there, which is a ring and a necklace called the Love Me ring. And I designed it years ago, before I knew what self-love actually was. I knew what surface level self-love was. And I was starting to learn that I realized self-love. So I designed this collection. It's the diamond that you buy yourself. And it is, for me, it's an investment into it. Like, I have one, I wear it every day. It's an investment into myself. It's telling me that I am worthy and deserving of love every single day. Every time I see it, my heart glows. And so if you'd like to learn more about the Love Me ring, you can. I'll put the link in the description and the show notes. Or let's just connect on Instagram. I hope you have an incredible week ahead and have had a wonderful weekend. I believe the weather's about to get a little bit warmer in London, which is nice considering we're in the middle of June. Gosh, that's so British, isn't it? Talking about the weather. Have an amazing day and give yourself loads and loads of love.